Have you ever felt like no matter how much you give, it is never enough? No matter how much you care, no matter how much you sacrifice, no matter how much love, patience, understanding, and loyalty you offer, you still end up feeling unseen, unappreciated, forgotten. You answer their messages, you make time for them, you worry about them, you forgive them, you keep showing up for them, again and again. Yet when you need the same love in return, there is often nothing there. And slowly, without realizing it, something painful begins to happen. You stop living for yourself. You start living for them. Their approval becomes your happiness. Their attention becomes your peace. Their opinion becomes your identity. Their presence becomes your emotional survival. And this is where suffering begins. Because the more power you give to people who do not truly value you, the more disconnected you become from yourself. According to Buddhist wisdom, the deepest pain is not being rejected by others. The deepest pain is rejecting yourself while trying to be accepted by everyone else. Think about that carefully. How many years have you spent trying to earn love that should never have required earning? How much peace have you sacrificed trying to keep people who were never afraid of losing you? How much of your life have you spent choosing others while abandoning yourself? Tonight, we are going to uncover a truth that has the power to change everything. A truth that can free you from attachment, free you from people-pleasing, free you from the exhausting need to be chosen. And by the end of this journey, you may realize that the person you have been waiting to save you is the person you abandoned long ago, yourself. The more you need their approval, the more you lose yourself. One of the deepest fears many people carry is the fear of not being liked. Most people never admit this openly. They may never say it out loud. They may never even realize it themselves. But quietly beneath the surface, this fear controls much of their life. It influences the way they speak, the way they dress, the way they behave, the way they make decisions, even the dreams they pursue and the dreams they abandon. Every day, countless people change parts of themselves simply to be accepted. They become versions of themselves that feel safer, versions that are easier for others to approve of. They stay silent when they want to speak. They agree when they want to disagree. They laugh when they are hurt. They smile when they are exhausted. They tolerate disrespect when every part of them wants to walk away. They hide their true feelings because they fear rejection more than they value honesty. And little by little they begin losing themselves. Not all at once, not in one dramatic moment, but slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. Like a candle that burns a little more each day, until one day there is nothing left. The saddest part is that many people do not even notice it happening. They become so focused on keeping everyone else comfortable that they stop paying attention to what is happening inside their own heart. They become experts at understanding everyone else's needs, but strangers to their own. They know what makes others happy, but they no longer know what brings them peace. They know what others expect from them, but they no longer know who they truly are. The Buddha understood something profound about human suffering. He understood that attachment is not limited to people. We can become attached to approval, attached to praise, attached to being accepted, attached to being admired, attached to being needed, attached to the feeling of being important in someone else's life. And once we become attached to these things, we unknowingly hand our peace over to other people. We give them the power to decide how we feel about ourselves. If they praise us, we feel worthy. If they approve of us, we feel valuable. If they include us, we feel important. But if they criticize us, we suffer. If they ignore us, we suffer. If they reject us, we suffer. Our emotional state rises and falls based on other people's opinions. And this creates a life of constant instability. Think about how exhausting that is. Imagine waking up every day needing other people to confirm your value. Imagine constantly wondering whether people like you, whether they approve of you, whether they are happy with you, whether you are enough for them. It is an exhausting burden to carry. Before speaking, you worry. Before making a decision, you worry. Before expressing your true self, you worry. The mind becomes trapped in a never-ending cycle of seeking permission from the outside world. And yet, no matter how much approval you receive, it never feels like enough. Because approval cannot heal a person who has forgotten their own worth. For a moment it feels good. For a moment it feels comforting. But then the mind wants more validation, more praise, more reassurance, more proof that you matter. And so the cycle continues. This is why so many people spend years feeling emotionally drained, not because life is necessarily difficult, but because they are constantly performing, constantly proving, constantly trying to earn a sense of worth that already belongs to them. They become actors in their own lives, always adjusting, always pleasing, always trying to be who others want them to be. But deep inside, something feels missing. Because the soul becomes tired of pretending, the heart becomes tired of living for an audience. The spirit becomes tired of carrying masks. Sooner or later, every human being reaches a moment where they must ask themselves a difficult question. If I removed everyone's opinions from my life, who would I actually be? Would I still make the same choices? Would I still live the same way? Would I still be chasing the same things? Or have I spent years building a life around the expectations of others? The Buddha taught that freedom begins with awareness. And awareness begins when you see the prison you have been living in. Many people think their prison is another person, but often the prison is the need for approval itself, the need to be liked, the need to be accepted, the need to be chosen, the need to be validated. Because as long as your happiness depends on these things, your peace will never truly belong to you. It will always belong to whoever is giving or withholding approval. The truth is that your value does not increase when someone chooses you, and it does not decrease when someone rejects you. Your worth is not created by praise, and it is not destroyed by criticism. Your worth is not something that another person can give you, because it was never theirs to give. It already exists within you. It existed before they entered your life. It exists while they are in your life, and it will remain even after they leave. The moment you truly understand this, something begins to change. You stop chasing approval. You stop trying to convince people of your value. You stop shrinking yourself to fit inside other people's expectations. You stop apologizing for being yourself. You stop carrying the exhausting responsibility of making everyone happy. And for the first time in a very long time, you begin to breathe differently. You begin to feel lighter, calmer, freer, because you are no longer living your life as a performance. You are finally living it as yourself. And that is where healing begins. That is where peace begins. And that is where the journey back to yourself truly starts. You keep chasing a version of them that never existed. One of the most painful things the human mind does is create a person who does not actually exist. Not with lies, not with imagination alone, but with hope. Hope has a beautiful side. It helps us move forward during difficult times. It helps us believe that tomorrow can be better than today. But when it comes to relationships, hope can sometimes become a trap. Because instead of seeing people as they truly are, we begin seeing them as who we wish they would become. We stop paying attention to reality, and we start living inside possibility. Many people are not attached to who someone really is. They are attached to who they thought that person would become. Think about it carefully. How many times have you ignored clear signs because you believed things would eventually change? How many times have you excused someone's behavior because you kept telling yourself they were going through a difficult phase? How many times have you stayed longer than you should have because you believed one day they would finally appreciate you? So who? One day they would finally understand you. One day they would finally choose you. One day they would finally love you the way you deserved. And so you wait. You keep giving. You keep understanding. You keep sacrificing. You keep hoping. Meanwhile, reality keeps showing you the truth. But hope keeps asking for one more chance. This is where suffering quietly begins. Because reality and expectation start moving in opposite directions. The person keeps showing you who they are, but the mind keeps showing you who they could be. The person keeps giving you evidence, but the heart keeps creating excuses. The person keeps disappointing you, but hope keeps whispering, maybe next time. This creates an endless cycle of emotional pain, not because the person is necessarily cruel, but because you are trying to build a relationship with a future version of them that may never exist. The Buddha taught that suffering often comes from resisting reality. Reality is what is happening. Expectation is what we wish was happening. And whenever those two things collide, pain appears. Many people spend years loving potential, years loving promises, years loving possibilities, years loving dreams, but very little time loving reality, and reality is the only place where truth exists. Reality tells you how someone treats you when they have no reason to impress you. Reality tells you how much effort they make when nobody is watching. Reality tells you whether they value your presence or simply enjoy your availability. Reality tells you whether their actions match their words. The problem is that reality is not always comfortable. Sometimes reality forces us to accept things we do not want to accept. Sometimes reality shows us that we care more than they do. Sometimes reality shows us that we are fighting for a connection that only exists in ours, imagination. And that realization can be heartbreaking because it means grieving not only the person, but also the future you imagined with them. The mind does something very strange when attachment becomes strong. It begins collecting evidence that supports hope, while ignoring evidence that supports truth. One kind message becomes proof they care. One small act of kindness becomes proof they are changing. One good moment becomes proof that everything will work out. Meanwhile, countless signs are ignored. Countless disappointments are excused. Countless red flags are explained away. This is not because people are foolish. It is because the heart desperately wants its story to be true. The heart wants the ending it imagined. The heart wants the dream it created. The heart wants the version of the person that exists only inside memory and fantasy. But wisdom begins when we become honest with ourselves. Not honest about who we wish they were, honest about who they consistently show themselves to be. This honesty can feel painful at first, very painful. Because illusions are comfortable. Illusions allow us to keep hoping. Illusions allow us to postpone difficult truths. But eventually every illusion demands payment. And that payment is usually our peace. The longer we hold on to fantasy, the longer we postpone healing, the longer we chase potential, the longer we avoid reality. And the longer we avoid reality, the longer suffering remains. The Buddha encouraged people to see clearly, not because reality is always pleasant, but because truth is the beginning of freedom. When you finally see someone as they are, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing, you stop convincing, you stop waiting for miracles that were never coming. You stop exhausting yourself trying to create a version of them that exists only in your mind. For the first time, you allow reality to speak louder than hope. And while that may break your heart for a moment, it also sets your heart free. Because healing begins the moment you stop loving the illusion and start accepting the truth. The truth may hurt, but it heals. Illusions may comfort, but they keep you trapped. And one day you will realize that the person you were chasing was never really them. It was a story, a possibility, a dream, a future that existed only in your imagination. And the moment you release that dream, you finally make space for reality. You finally make space for peace. And most importantly, you finally make space for yourself. Every time you abandon yourself, suffering grows deeper. One of the greatest tragedies in life is not being abandoned by other people. It is abandoning yourself. Most people immediately recognize when someone else hurts them. They notice when someone lies to them. They notice when someone disrespects them. They notice when someone takes them for granted. But very few people notice the moments when they betray themselves. And yet those moments often create the deepest wounds. Self-abandonment rarely happens in one dramatic event. It happens quietly. It happens in small decisions, small compromises, small moments when you ignore your own heart to keep someone else happy. You say yes when you desperately want to say no. You stay when every part of you wants to leave. You remain silent when something inside you is begging to speak. You accept treatment that you know is wrong. You tolerate behavior that hurts your spirit. You lower your standards. You ignore your intuition. You dismiss your own feelings. And each time you do this, a small part of you feels forgotten. A small part of you feels abandoned. A small part of you feels unseen, not by others, by you. This is why many people feel exhausted even when they are surrounded by others, because deep down, they have been carrying themselves through years of self-neglect. They have spent so much energy taking care of everyone else's emotions that they have completely ignored their own. The Buddha taught that suffering grows whenever we move further away from awareness. And self-abandonment is exactly that. It is turning away from your own truth. It is ignoring what your heart already knows. It is refusing to listen to the wisdom that lives inside you. Think about how many times your intuition warned you. How many times something felt wrong. How many times you sensed that a relationship was draining you. How many times you knew someone did not value you the way you valued them. How many times your heart whispered, "This is hurting me." Yet you stayed, not because you were weak, but because you hoped. You hoped things would change. You hoped they would understand. You hoped your patience would eventually be rewarded. You hoped your sacrifices would finally be appreciated. You hoped your love would eventually be enough. But while you were busy waiting for them to change, you were slowly losing yourself. And this is where many people become trapped. They believe suffering comes from what others are doing. But often suffering continues because of what we continue allowing. The painful truth is that some people can only hurt you repeatedly because you keep giving them access to parts of yourself that they have already shown they do not respect. This does not mean you are responsible for their behavior. It means you are responsible for protecting your peace. Many people confuse self-sacrifice with love, but they are not the same thing. Love should not require you to destroy yourself. Love should not require you to constantly ignore your own needs. Love not should require you to carry all the weight, while someone else carries none. Yet countless people spend years proving their devotion through suffering. They believe that enduring more pain means loving more deeply. They believe that staying longer means being more loyal. They believe that sacrificing themselves proves their worth. But the Buddha never taught self-destruction. He taught balance. He taught compassion. And compassion includes yourself. Imagine a person carrying a heavy bucket of water every day. At first, they can manage it. But day after day, year after year, the weight becomes unbearable. Eventually, they collapse. This is what happens when you continuously carry everyone else's burdens while neglecting your own well-being. Sooner or later, something inside you becomes exhausted. Not because you are selfish, but because you are human. You were never meant to live entirely for other people. You were never meant to ignore your own needs forever. You were never meant to sacrifice your peace in exchange for acceptance. One of the most powerful moments in life is when you finally become honest with yourself. When you stop asking, "How can I make them stay?" and start asking, "Why am I staying where I am not valued?" When you stop asking, "How can I make them understand me?" and start asking, "Why am I ignoring my own understanding?" When you stop asking, "How can I earn their love?" and start asking, "Why have I stopped giving love to myself?" These questions change everything, because they shift your attention away from others and back toward yourself. And healing begins there. Healing begins when you stop running away from your own feelings. Healing begins when you stop treating your needs as less important than everyone else's. Healing begins when you finally decide that your peace matters too. The truth is that every time you betray yourself, suffering grows. But every time you honor yourself, healing grows. Every time you listen to your intuition, healing grows. Every time you respect your boundaries, healing grows. Every time you choose honesty over people-pleasing, healing grows. Every time you choose peace over approval, healing grows. This is the path back to yourself. Not through changing other people. Not through forcing others to appreciate you. Not through making everyone understand your worth. But through finally remembering it yourself. Because the deepest relationship you will ever have is not with another person. It is yourself. And the moment you stop abandoning yourself, something beautiful begins to happen. Your confidence returns. Your clarity returns. Your strength returns. Your peace returns. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you are no longer fighting against your own heart. You are finally standing beside yourself instead of leaving yourself behind. And that is where true freedom begins. Seeking validation from others will never bring inner peace. There is a silent struggle that millions of people carry every day. A struggle that often goes unnoticed. A struggle that hides behind smiles, achievements, relationships, and even success. It is the constant need to feel validated, the need to feel approved of, the need to feel accepted, the need to hear someone say, "You are enough." At first, this may not seem dangerous. After all, everyone enjoys appreciation. Everyone enjoys being valued. Everyone enjoys feeling seen. There is nothing wrong with that. The problem begins when validation becomes a necessity instead of a bonus. When your happiness depends on it. When your peace depends on it. when your sense of worth depends on it. That is when suffering quietly enters your life, because now your emotional state is no longer in your hands. It is in the hands of other people. Think about how many decisions people make simply to gain approval. They choose careers they do not love. They stay in relationships that no longer nourish them. They suppress their true personality. They hide their opinions. They silence their dreams, not because they want to, but because they fear what others might think. Some people spend years trying to become the version of themselves that will receive the most applause. They become experts at pleasing others, experts at fitting in, experts at becoming who people expect them to be. But somewhere along the way, they forget who they truly are. And this creates a painful emptiness, because no amount of external validation can replace inner acceptance. You can receive compliments every day. You can receive praise every day. You can receive attention every day. But if you do not accept yourself, none of it will ever feel enough. The mind will always ask for more approval, more recognition, more reassurance, more proof, and the hunger never ends. This is why validation can become addictive. For a brief moment, it makes you feel complete. For a brief moment, it makes you feel secure. For a brief moment, it quiets your doubts. But the feeling fades, and then the mind starts searching again, looking for the next compliment, the next sign of approval, the next person who will confirm your worth. The Buddha understood this deeply. He saw that anything we depend on for happiness can eventually become a source of suffering, especially when that thing exists outside ourselves. Because everything outside ourselves is unstable. People change, opinions change, relationships change, circumstances change. Someone who admires you today may criticize you tomorrow. Someone who praises you today may ignore you tomorrow. Someone who supports you today may walk away tomorrow. If your peace depends on them remaining the same, your peace will always be fragile. This is why so many people live in emotional fear, not fear of failure, not fear of hardship, but fear of disapproval, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being judged, fear of being rejected. And because of that fear, they never fully become themselves. They spend their lives editing who they are. They filter their thoughts, they filter their emotions, they filter their personality. They become smaller and smaller just to fit into other people's expectations. But peace can never be found through self-rejection. Peace can never be found by hiding your truth. Peace can never be found by abandoning yourself. The more you try to become someone else, the further you move away from the peace that comes from authenticity. Have you ever noticed that some people seem calm even when others disagree with them? Some people remain grounded even when they are criticized. Some people remain peaceful even when they are misunderstood. Why? Because they no longer depend on validation for their identity. They know who they are. And because they know who they are, other people's opinions no longer control their inner world. This is one of the greatest forms of freedom. The freedom to be yourself without needing permission. The freedom to follow your truth without needing applause. The freedom to make decisions based on wisdom rather than approval. The freedom to walk your own path even when others do not understand it. Most people spend years trying to be accepted by everyone. But this is an impossible goal. No matter what you do, someone will disagree with you. Someone will misunderstand you. Someone will criticize you. Someone will not like you. That is part of life. The Buddha never taught people to control the opinions of others. He taught people to understand their own minds. Because the real problem is not that people judge you. The real problem is the suffering created when you believe their judgment determines your worth. The moment you stop giving other people authority over your value, something extraordinary begins to happen. You stop chasing approval. You stop seeking constant reassurance. You stop measuring your worth through other people's reactions. You stop treating yourself like a product that needs everyone's acceptance. And for the first time, you begin to experience a deeper kind of peace. A peace that does not depend on praise. A peace that does not disappear when someone criticizes you. A peace that remains even when others fail to understand you. Because true peace is not found when everyone accepts you. True peace is found when you finally accept yourself. When you stop asking the world to confirm your value. When you stop waiting for permission to be yourself. When you stop looking outside for what has always existed within. That is the moment your life begins to change. Because the approval you spent years searching for was never the answer. The answer was learning to see your own worth without needing anyone else to see it first. And when that happens, you no longer live for other people's approval. You live from your own inner truth. And that is where real freedom begins. The people who value you least often receive the most from you. There is a painful truth that many people discover far too late. The people you give the most to are not always the people who appreciate you the most. In fact, sometimes the opposite is true. Sometimes the people who receive the most of your time, your attention, your kindness, your patience, and your energy are the very people who value it the least. At first, this can feel confusing. You tell yourself that if you love someone deeply enough, they will eventually appreciate it. If you remain loyal enough, they will eventually notice. If you continue giving, supporting, helping, understanding, and sacrificing, they will finally realize how much you care. But life does not always work that way. Many people spend years trying to earn appreciation through endless giving. They become the person everyone relies on, the person everyone calls when they need help, the person everyone turns to during difficult times, the person who is always available, always understanding, always forgiving, always there. Yet when they need support, the room suddenly becomes quiet. When they need understanding, very few people are present. When they need someone to listen, they discover how alone they truly are. And this realization can break the heart, because it forces you to see something you have avoided seeing for a long time. Not everyone values what you give. Not everyone treasures your kindness. Not everyone respects your sacrifices. Some people simply are comfortable receiving them. The Buddha understood a deep truth about human attachment. When we constantly give without awareness, we often believe we are creating connection. But sometimes we are simply creating dependence. And dependence is not the same thing as appreciation. Many people mistake being needed for being valued. But these are very different things. Someone can need your attention without respecting you. Someone can need your help without caring about your well-being. Someone can enjoy your presence without truly appreciating your heart. This is why so many people feel used, because they confuse being important in someone's life with being cherished in someone's life. The two are not always the same. Think about a river. A river gives constantly. It gives water every day, without effort, without complaint, without stopping. Now imagine people living beside that river. At first, they appreciate it. They are grateful. They notice its value. But after years of receiving water every single day, many stop noticing it altogether. What once felt precious becomes ordinary. What once felt special becomes expected. What once inspired gratitude becomes something people take for granted. The same thing often happens in relationships. The more available you become, the more ordinary your presence may seem. The more you sacrifice, the more those sacrifices become expected. The more you give, the more people begin assuming you will always give. Not because they are evil, not because they are intentionally cruel, but because human beings quickly adapt to what they receive consistently. This is why endless giving does not always create appreciation. Sometimes it creates expectation, and expectation can be dangerous. Because once people begin expecting your energy, they stop recognizing its value. They stop noticing how much you are carrying. They stop noticing how much you are sacrificing. They stop noticing how much of yourself you are giving away. Meanwhile, you continue giving more, hoping that eventually they will understand, hoping that eventually they will appreciate everything you have done, hoping that eventually they will love you the way you love them. But often, the more you give from a place of desperation, the less respected you become. This is a difficult truth, but it is an important one, because respect cannot be purchased through self-sacrifice. Respect cannot be earned by abandoning yourself. Respect cannot be built on constantly proving your worth. True respect begins when you recognize your own value. The moment you stop treating your energy as limitless, other people begin seeing it differently. The moment you stop giving access to everyone, your presence becomes more meaningful. The moment you stop chasing people, you begin seeing who genuinely wants to walk beside you. Many people fear setting boundaries because they worry others will leave. They worry people will become upset. They worry people will think they have changed. And perhaps they are right. Some people will become uncomfortable. Some people will pull away. Some people will complain. But pay close attention to who becomes upset when you start protecting your peace, because that reaction often reveals more than words ever could. The people who truly care about you may need time to adjust, but they will respect your boundaries. They will respect your needs. They will respect your well-being. The people who only benefited from your lack of boundaries are usually the ones who resist them. And that resistance tells you something important. It shows you who valued you and who merely valued what you provided. One of the most powerful lessons in Buddhist wisdom is understanding balance. Compassion is beautiful. Generosity is beautiful. Kindness is beautiful. But when generosity becomes self-neglect, suffering begins. When compassion excludes yourself, suffering begins. When kindness requires you to abandon your own needs, suffering begins. You cannot continue pouring from an empty cup forever. Eventually, something inside you becomes exhausted. Eventually, your spirit becomes tired. Eventually, your heart begins asking a question it has ignored for years. Who is taking care of me? Who is protecting my peace? Who is honoring my needs? And the answer must eventually become you. Because no one can value your life more than you value it yourself. No one can protect your peace more than you protect it yourself. No one can teach others how to treat you if you continuously teach them that your needs come last. The truth is that your time is valuable, your energy is valuable, your attention is valuable, your presence is valuable, your peace is valuable. And the moment you truly understand this, everything begins to change. You stop giving from fear. You stop giving to earn love. You stop giving to prove your worth. Instead, you begin giving from a place of wisdom, a place of balance, a place of self-respect. And something remarkable happens. You no longer feel drained by every relationship. You no longer feel responsible for everyone's happiness. You no longer lose yourself trying to be everything for everyone, because you finally understand a truth that many people spend their entire lives learning. The people who deserve your kindness are not the people who demand it endlessly. They are the people who recognize its value. They are the people who appreciate your heart. They are the people who respect your boundaries. And most importantly, they are the people who never make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. Your peace returns the moment you stop chasing them. There comes a moment in every person's life when they become tired. Not physically tired, not the kind of tired that sleep can fix, but a deeper kind of exhaustion, the exhaustion of constantly chasing attention, chasing approval, chasing understanding, chasing love. Chasing people who keep moving further away, no matter how much effort you make. Many people spend years of their lives running after things that were never meant to be caught. They run after people who are emotionally unavailable. They run after validation from those who never truly valued them. They run after relationships that only survive because of their effort. And because they have been running for so long, they begin to believe that chasing is normal. They begin to believe that love requires struggle, that connection requires suffering, that loyalty requires self-sacrifice, that if something is not difficult, it is not meaningful. But Buddhist wisdom teaches something very different. The Buddha taught that much of our suffering comes from attachment. Not because having desires is wrong, but because we become attached to outcomes we cannot control. We become attached to people choosing us, attached to people understanding us, attached to people staying, attached to people loving us in the exact way we want. And when reality does not match our expectations, suffering appears. This is why chasing is so exhausting. Because chasing is often an attempt to control what cannot be controlled. You cannot force someone to value you. You cannot force someone to understand you. You cannot force someone to appreciate your heart. You cannot force someone to see your worth. Yet millions of people spend years trying harder, giving more, explaining more, sacrificing more, waiting longer, hoping deeper, believing that if they just do enough, eventually everything will change. But what if the problem is not that you have not done enough? What if the problem is that you have done too much? What if the reason you are exhausted is because you have been carrying a responsibility that was never yours to carry? The responsibility of making someone else choose you. Think about how much energy people waste trying to be enough for others, trying to be attractive enough, interesting enough, helpful enough, patient enough, understanding enough, perfect enough. And after all that effort, they are still afraid of being left, afraid of being replaced, afraid of not being enough, because chasing never creates security. It only creates dependence. The more your happiness depends on another person's response, the more powerless you become. Your mood depends on their text message. Your peace depends on their attention. Your confidence depends on their approval. Your happiness depends on their presence. Without realizing it, your emotional life becomes attached to something outside yourself. And anything outside yourself can disappear at any moment. This is why so many people live in constant anxiety. Not because life is attacking them, but because they have attached their peace to something unstable. The Buddha often spoke about the nature of impermanence. Everything changes. People change, feelings change, relationships change, Circumstances change. Nothing remains the same forever. The more tightly you hold on to something, the more afraid you become of losing it. And fear destroys peace. But something remarkable happens when you stop chasing. At first, it feels uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, because your mind has become used to pursuit, used to effort, used to struggle, used to trying. When you stop chasing, there is suddenly silence, and that silence can feel frightening, because for the first time, you are forced to sit with yourself. No distractions, no endless attempts to fix another person, no constant effort to earn love, just you. And many people discover something surprising in that silence. The peace they were searching for was never inside another person. It was inside themselves. It had simply been buried beneath years of attachment, years of chasing, years of seeking externally what could only be found internally. The moment you stop chasing people who do not value you, you create space for something powerful. You create space for clarity. You begin seeing situations more honestly. You begin seeing people's actions more clearly. You begin seeing your own worth more clearly. You stop viewing people through desperation. You stop viewing them through loneliness. You stop viewing them through fear. Instead, you begin seeing reality. And reality is where freedom begins. One of the greatest signs of emotional maturity is realizing that not everything is meant to be pursued. Some doors are meant to close. Some people are meant to leave. Some chapters are meant to end. Not because you failed, not because you were unworthy, but because life is creating space for something different. Yet many people remain trapped in old chapters because they cannot stop chasing what is already gone. They keep rereading the same page, reliving the same memories, repeating the same hopes, waiting for the same outcome. Meanwhile, life continues moving forward without them. The truth is that every moment spent chasing someone who does not value you is a moment taken away from your own growth. A moment taken away from your own healing. A moment taken away from your own peace. And eventually, you must ask yourself a powerful question. How much longer will I abandon myself while pursuing someone else? How much longer will I postpone my happiness, waiting for another person to change? How much longer will I place my peace in hands that cannot hold it? Because real freedom begins when you stop asking, how do I make them stay? And start asking, why am I afraid to let go? That question changes everything. Because the answer is rarely about them. It is usually about your own fears. Your fear of loneliness, your fear of rejection, your fear of starting over, your fear of facing yourself. And once you begin healing those fears, the need to chase slowly disappears. You no longer need people to complete you. You no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer need validation to feel worthy. You no longer need someone's attention to feel important. For the first time, you become enough for yourself. And that is when peace returns. Not because everyone suddenly understands you. Not because everyone finally appreciates you. Not because life becomes perfect. But because your peace is no longer attached to people who can take it away. It belongs to you again. And there is no greater freedom than that. The day you stop chasing what refuses to stay is the day you begin returning home to yourself. And when you finally return to yourself, you discover something beautiful. The peace you were searching for was never running away from you. You were simply looking for it in the wrong place. Letting go of who ignores your worth is an act of awakening. One of the hardest things a human being can do is let go. Not because letting go is complicated, but because attachment convinces us that holding on is safer. Holding on to hope, holding on to memories, holding on to old conversations, holding on to the version of someone we created in our mind, holding on to the possibility that one day everything will be different. The mind becomes attached not only to people, it becomes attached to stories, stories about what could have been, stories about what should have happened, stories about how things might still work out. And because of these stories, people often stay connected to pain long after the situation itself has ended. Have you ever noticed how some people leave your life physically but remain in your mind for years? The relationship ends. The conversations stop. The distance grows. Life moves forward. Yet part of your heart remains stuck in the past, still waiting, still hoping, still holding on. This is one of the most powerful forms of attachment, and it is also one of the greatest sources of suffering. The Buddha taught that suffering often comes from clinging. Clinging to what has changed, clinging to what is gone, clinging to what was never truly ours to keep. Many people believe they are holding on to another person, but often they are holding on to a feeling, a memory, a dream, an expectation, a future they imagined but never received, and because they cannot let go of that vision, they continue carrying emotional weight that no longer belongs in their life. Think about how much energy it takes to carry someone who does not carry you. Think about, Tisan, how much emotional strength is wasted waiting for someone who is not coming back in the way you hoped. Think about how much peace is sacrificed when your heart remains attached to someone who has already moved on. This is why letting go is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the moment you stop fighting reality. It is the moment you stop arguing with what is. It is the moment you finally accept what your heart has been resisting. Many people are afraid that letting go means they never cared. But that is not true. Letting go does not erase love. It does not erase memories. It does not erase the lessons. It simply means you stop allowing the past to control your present. It means you stop giving your energy to something that no longer gives life back to you. There is a deep misunderstanding that exists in many people's minds. They believe that loyalty means holding on forever, that if they truly cared, they should never let go, that walking away means giving up. But sometimes walking away is the most loving thing you can do for yourself. Sometimes the most courageous act is accepting that someone cannot give you what you keep asking from them. Not because they are bad, not because you are bad, but because not every connection is meant to last forever. The Buddha often reminded people that everything in life is impermanent. Everything changes. Everything moves. Everything transforms. Nothing stays exactly as it is. Yet the human mind constantly tries to freeze things in place. It wants people to remain the same. It wants relationships to remain the same. It wants feelings to remain the same. It wants life to remain predictable. And when change arrives, suffering follows because the mind resists what reality has already accepted. But awakening begins when you stop resisting change. Awakening begins when you stop demanding that life return to what it once was. Awakening begins when you stop asking why someone did not become who you wanted them to be, and instead ask what this experience came to teach you. Every person who enters your life leaves something behind. Some leave beautiful memories. Some leave painful lessons. Some leave wisdom. Some leave wounds. But all of them leave something that can help you grow if you are willing to learn. The tragedy is not that someone failed to value you. The tragedy is spending years refusing to value yourself because of it. Many people stay emotionally trapped because they make another person's inability to love them properly into evidence that they are unworthy. But another person's behavior does not define your value. Another person's inability to see your worth does not mean it isn't there. A flower does not become less beautiful because someone walks past without noticing it. The sun does not stop shining because someone closes their eyes. And your worth does not disappear because someone failed to appreciate it. The moment you understand this, something shifts inside you. You stop chasing people who cannot see your value. You stop begging for attention. You stop explaining your worth. You stop trying to convince people to care. Because you realize something important. People who genuinely value you do not need to be persuaded. People who genuinely care do not need endless reminders. People who genuinely respect you do not repeatedly make you question your place in their life. The more awareness grows, the more clearly you begin seeing where your energy belongs. Not in proving yourself, not in convincing others, not in waiting for people to become who they have repeatedly shown they are not. Your energy belongs in your healing, your growth, your peace, your future, your relationship with yourself. And this is where true awakening begins. Not when someone finally chooses you, not when someone finally apologizes, not when someone finally understands what they lost, but when you stop needing those things in order to move forward. That is freedom, that is healing, that is wisdom. Because the goal was never to make everyone see your worth. The goal was to see it yourself. And once you do, letting go no longer feels like losing someone. It feels like finding yourself again. It feels like putting down a burden you were never meant to carry. It feels like opening your hand after years of holding on too tightly. And for the first time in a very long time, your heart becomes lighter. Your mind becomes quieter. Your spirit becomes freer. Because you finally understand a truth that changes everything. The people who ignore your worth are not your destination. They are your lesson. And the moment you stop chasing the lesson, you become free to walk toward your peace. That is why letting go is not an ending. It is an awakening. It is the moment you stop abandoning yourself for someone who never truly saw your value, and begin returning to the person who always deserved your love. You. The day you choose yourself, your life begins to change after all the pain, after all the disappointment, after all the chasing, after all the waiting, after all the sacrifices. There comes a moment that changes everything. A quiet moment, a deeply personal moment, a moment that nobody else may even notice, but inside you something shifts, something awakens, something finally says, enough. Enough chasing people who do not choose me, enough abandoning myself for approval, enough sacrificing my peace to keep others comfortable, enough waiting for someone else to tell me that I am worthy. Enough building my life around people who are not building theirs around me. This moment is not loud. It does not arrive with fireworks. It does not arrive with dramatic transformation. It arrives softly, like the first light of dawn after a long night, like a deep breath after years of holding your breath, like finally putting down a burden you forgot you were carrying. And in that moment, you begin choosing yourself, not in a selfish way, not in an arrogant way, not in a way that closes your heart to others, but in a healthy way, a wise way, a compassionate way. For perhaps the first time in your life, you stop treating yourself as the least important person in your own story. You stop putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own. You stop making yourself smaller so others can feel bigger. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop feeling guilty for protecting your peace. And slowly, something beautiful begins to happen. You begin remembering who you are. Many people spend so many years trying to be what others want that they forget what they want. They become experts at reading other people's emotions, but strangers to their own. They know how to comfort everyone else, but do not know how to comfort themselves. They know how to love others, but do not know how to love themselves. Choosing yourself is the moment this begins to change. It is the moment you finally turn your attention inward. Not to judge yourself, not to criticize yourself, but to reconnect with yourself. The Buddha taught that awareness is the beginning of freedom, and choosing yourself requires awareness. Awareness of your needs, awareness of your feelings, awareness of your limits, awareness of your worth. For years, many people live disconnected from themselves. They ignore their intuition, ignore their exhaustion, ignore their sadness, ignore their desires, ignore their inner voice. And because they ignore themselves for so long, they slowly lose connection with their own heart. Choosing yourself means listening again. Listening to what your heart has been trying to tell you. Listening to the wisdom hidden beneath all the noise. Listening to the quiet truth that has always been there. The truth that says, you do not have to earn your worth. You do not have to prove your value. You do not have to suffer to deserve love. You do not have to lose yourself to keep people. You are already enough. One of the greatest transformations that happens when you choose yourself is that you stop seeing loneliness as an enemy. For many people, loneliness is terrifying. They stay in unhealthy situations because they fear being alone. They tolerate disrespect because they fear abandonment. They cling to people because they fear emptiness. But eventually, something changes. You discover that being alone and being abandoned are not the same thing. You discover that solitude can be healing. You discover that peace is often found in the places where you once feared being by yourself. And perhaps most importantly, you discover that the relationship you have with yourself shapes every other relationship in your life. When you do not value yourself, you tolerate being undervalued. When you do not respect yourself, you tolerate disrespect. When you do not listen to yourself, you allow others to define your reality. But when you begin valuing yourself, everything changes. Your standards change. Your decisions change. Your relationships change. The way you speak changes. The way you carry yourself changes. The energy you accept changes. The things you tolerate change. Not because you become harder, but because you become clearer. You begin recognizing that protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. You begin understanding that boundaries are not punishments. They are acts of self-respect. You begin realizing that saying no to what harms you is actually saying yes to yourself. This is where true freedom begins. Not when everyone loves you, not when everyone approves of you, not when life finally becomes perfect, but when your happiness no longer depends on those things. Because for the first time, your peace comes from within. And peace that comes from within cannot be taken away by another person. The Buddha understood that lasting happiness is never found outside ourselves. It is not found in approval, not found in attention, not found in status, not found in being chosen. It is found in understanding who we truly are beneath all our fears, attachments, and expectations. And when you finally choose yourself, you begin uncovering that truth. You stop searching for your identity in other people. You stop measuring your value through other people's behavior. You stop allowing rejection to define you. You stop allowing neglect to convince you that you are unworthy. Instead, you begin standing on your own foundation. a foundation built on awareness, self-respect, inner peace, wisdom, and self-love. This does not mean life becomes easy. People will still disappoint you. Relationships will still end. Challenges will still come. But something inside you is different now. You are no longer dependent on external things for your sense of worth. You are no longer constantly seeking validation. You are no longer chasing people who refuse to see your value, because you finally see it yourself. And that changes everything. The truth is that the greatest relationship you will ever have is not with another person. It is the relationship you have with yourself. Every other relationship will come and go. People will enter your life. People will leave. Circumstances will change. Seasons will change. But you will always remain with yourself. That is why choosing yourself is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. Because when you choose yourself, you stop living as a stranger to your own heart. You stop abandoning yourself for acceptance. You stop sacrificing your peace for people who do not care. You stop searching outside for what has always existed within. And in that moment, something extraordinary happens. You no longer need the world to tell you who you are. You already know. You no longer need everyone to choose you. You have chosen yourself. And that single decision becomes the beginning of a completely different life. A life built not on fear, not on approval, not on chasing, but on peace, wisdom, freedom, and the quiet strength of finally coming home to yourself. That is the day your life truly begins to change. If there is one thing to remember from this entire journey, let it be this. You were never meant to spend your life proving your worth to people who cannot see it. You were never meant to sacrifice your peace just to keep someone comfortable. You were never meant to abandon yourself so that others would stay. For so long, you may have believed that if you loved harder, gave more, waited longer, or sacrificed enough, someone would finally choose you. But true peace begins when you stop asking others to choose you and start choosing yourself. The Buddha taught that suffering ends when attachment loosens its grip on the heart. And perhaps the attachment you need to release is not just attachment to a person, but attachment to their approval, their validation, their acceptance, their ability to make you feel worthy, because the truth is, your worth was never in their hands. It never was. You were worthy before they arrived. You were worthy while they were present. And you will remain worthy even if they leave. The moment you understand this, something beautiful happens. The need to chase begins to fade. The need to prove begins to fade. The need to be chosen begins to fade, and in its place, something stronger appears. Inner peace, self-respect, freedom. You stop living for people who do not care, and you start living for the life that is waiting for you. A life where your happiness is not controlled by someone else's attention. A life where your value is not measured by someone else's opinion. A life where your peace belongs to you again. So if someone has been making you question your worth, if someone has been receiving your love while giving very little in return, if someone has become the center of your world while treating you like an option, let this be the moment you finally let go. Not because you hate them, not because they are evil, but because you love yourself enough to stop carrying what is hurting you. The greatest act of self-love is not making someone else stay. It is refusing to lose yourself while they leave. And perhaps today is the day you stop chasing what was never meant for you and start becoming the person you were always meant to be. If this message spoke to your heart, take a moment and leave a comment below. I choose myself. Those 3 words may seem simple, But for many people, they are the beginning of a completely new life. And if you are on a journey of healing, inner peace, self-respect, and freedom from attachment, make sure you subscribe to Golden Lotus Wisdom and join this growing community of people who are learning to stop chasing the world and start finding themselves. Remember, the peace you are searching for is not in someone else's hands. It is already within you. All you have to do is return to it. And until our next journey together, protect your peace, honor your worth, and never forget, you deserve the same love you keep giving to everyone else.